Hi, everybody. My name's Amanda Bigelow, and I'm speaking today from Brisbane, Australia. It's not really where I live, but I'm living here at the moment and coming between where I live, which is a little country town called Inverell, about 5 hours from here. So I am really happy to be part of the TCK Summit. To me, it's an extraordinary initiative because it's such an important set of insights, knowledge, understandings, and probably and real directions for the planet today. So a little bit about me, and thank you Sol and Grace for putting this together because I think it's fantastic. So a little bit about me. I do live in Australia. I was born here. I'm an Australian of Australian parents, so I'm not really a TCK, but I do have a global mindset, which I'll talk to you about now. So here I am. I live in Australia, and I've worked in the environment sector for a big part of my life, and really that came about through growing up with a very close relationship with nature. First as a child, running wild in nature, and then growing up to be a hiker or a trekker in nature, and then a park ranger where I was always in wild places and doing things that were full of adventure and really about conservation of our wonderful natural areas. So nature's been really the source of my greatest teachings and learnings. It's also been the source of my greatest adventures, and it's also been the source of my work for many years. But more recently, I took up a big change, a big life change, and it was simply because I got very involved at a very high level with my work, and at a CEO level, developing companies and working all over the world and doing great things. And I thought it was all very super important, and I probably did take it a bit too seriously. And I just devoted my whole life to bringing about change for things like climate change and ways that we can all work together to do better things in the environment. And that's still very much part of me. But, I had a big health crash. So as a result of that, I did some deep thinking around what really I could do in the world. And I thought, well, it'd be really great to help other people like me who've had chronic illnesses and need to really get back on track. So now I'm an integrative health coach, and I work in Australia and in Brisbane with a large corporation to help them to really pull health and wellness together for their whole company all over Australia and in 15 countries, and for their staff to be really healthy, and to also work with other corporations that they do to bring about a whole sort of mindset around health and wellness that's part of the framework of corporations. So I'm doing that, and then I've got my own business where I work with clients one-on-one, and I also spend a lot of time in Samoa, which is my second home, where my husband lives and works. And so when I go there, I just really get involved with the community and do what I can to help out around anything to do with health and wellness. And apart from that, I have a great time in nature. So let me tell you a little bit about my global mindset development and what that means for me. Well, when I was working with the environment, sort of from about the age of 18 through to, 50-something, 51, and I guess it's a long time. And in those days, it was really important to think globally, and act locally. And that was really the catch cry when I was, sort of in my early 20s. And so I guess the idea of global thinking really was planted in my mind around how we were to help the planet and the environment. and that thinking globally was connecting, sort of the whole picture of the environment around the whole of the planet. And this is what everyone was thinking. And I think it's still relevant today. And I think it's very much on the agenda through climate change. And for the first time in our life, we've now got this global agreement around us being a planetary civilization, which is around having targets for reducing carbon emissions. So if you sort of step back, and this is what I often do, is step back and look at it from a helicopter point of view, that this is really the first step to us becoming a planetary civilization. And if we're starting that now, what does that mean? Well, it means that people who are planetary operators and have experience like TCKs do, and people with global mindsets, then they're going to be people who play a significant role in joining the dots, bringing about the collaborations, and also educate in their education role around, where this planet is sort of ambling towards in a future that's sustainable and a much better world for people to live and grow up and exist in. So I guess that's part of my point of view. I also think that we are right now in a time where we are being pressed to evolve with consciousness, as in consciously evolve out of sort of a taking community or a taking civilization into a more giving and what I would say is truth-seeking civilization. And when I say truth, I don't mean that truth. I mean the truths that are important to communities, to nations, and to individuals, really. I think we do need to find more truth, and that gives people more clarity around where things can go. So really, I've worked in numerous parts of the world, in Indonesia, Asia, China, the Pacific, and Africa, and the US, and quite a few other parts of the world as well. So, that's been a big part of my life, and I do tend to wander around and work wherever, things are happening or they fall into place for me. So how does health and wellness really come together for a TCK or people who are really globally oriented? Well, I think it's really important. I think it's important because if you're going to be living in the equatorial region, there's some really big issues that are going on there around mosquito-borne diseases, and I do know about that personally in Samoa. So, there's things that we need to do when we're in different cultures that protect our health and keep us at optimal health. And I really believe that looking after your mental health and your physical health, which are both totally intertwined, there's you work on your nutrition, and that's going to help your mental health, and you work on your mental health, and that's going to help your whole body system, in particular your digestive health, to really be calm and to be really happy. And when your body is really happy, then I think your mindset's really happy, and vice versa. So that's the integration model that I work with in very simple terms. So, yes, so why is it really important for people who are moving around the world, doing big things, getting things happening and making a difference? Well, I think it's really easy to wear yourself out like I have done in the past. And as a result, there's more and more toxins that are appearing in the world today in every sphere of life. In food, in makeup, in household goods or household cleaning products, in the pesticides, in the pollution, in the attitudes, in the problems, in the loneliness. So it's on and on and on it goes, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, is that there's just so many toxic aspects to life that we're all just, faced with. So that is really pressing us towards having optimal health and also preventative health, simply because the world, 90% of illness and disease is due to chronic health conditions, which is really explains why we're living longer, but we're living with disabled diseases, both mental and physical. And I'd have to say that this is a really big part of my work, is working with people who've got multiple kinds of chronic illnesses. And some of the time, particularly when you're young, they're there, but they're not there in any substantive way that you would notice anything. But the seeds of them are there, and they're developing as you go through life. And some of those are autoimmune diseases, which I'm sort of very familiar with. I have one myself. So, you've really got to look after your health. And the people who are mostly at risk are those that work hard and play hard, and those that are driven, that was me, A-type personalities, and those that are missing sleep, and those that are not eating a really good, well-balanced diet of whole foods. And you, as being TCKs, I think have a very interesting sort of makeup in your gut and your genetics, which can be in favour for you, because you've grown up in different cultures, and as a result, you've got microbial activity from different cultures, which is now a really diverse gut microbiome that you have in your gut. And what that means is that you probably have you would, if this has been the case, have a very strong microbial system there. And that predisposes you to being quite resilient when it comes to illnesses. But it also says that you're going to be crossing all sorts of different barriers around health and wellness, and that you really do need to look after your health going through your entire life. And that's the golden rule for everybody. But I guess you're in a certain circumstance where, you've got this cultural, genetic, and body-wise predisposition, which enables you to move through cultures and potentially move through cultures quite healthy, depending on what you do and how you really do put health on the agenda and make sure that it's a really important part of your life. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say to you. And when I reflect back on all of this and what does it all really mean? I think what it means is different cultures, different people, we all come into this sort of world with, I believe, a predisposition to a certain calling or a purpose or a set of values. And some of us are really here to do things that are out of the ordinary. And I think that TCKs have acknowledged that they're in a position to do that and to help things to get better on the planet.